to decide where I was put between a rock and a hard place. You know, it's like, do I choose my family or do I choose my husband? Ideas where you had to really fall in line with your parents forever. The whole honor your father and mother thing taken as like an obedience, even into adulthood, was very problematic and carried into our lives.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Thursday, September 14th, 2023. Well, it's not a day without a Duggar story, well, at least lately, because of the brand new book that has been released by Jill and Derek Dillard. Jill, the second oldest daughter of the Duggars and the eldest daughter of the Duggars that is married, is the mother of 3 children, and she is speaking her truth for the very first time in a very well put together book outlining why she made the decision she made to step away from the television show, the disputes that she had with her father about money, about control, and the fear that she lived in growing up under that control. The book is filled with tons of information, and one of the pieces of information you learn about kind of early on is that as they became more famous with their show, Jim Bob became more famous in the IBLP, and with that came a lot more perks for the family. The family was becoming a model IBLP or ATI family, and with that it came speaking engagements, came activities for the kids, opportunities for the kids to go to different camps and programs that the ATI and the IBLP offered. And Jim Bob was getting a lot more attention from Bill Gothard and having a lot more insight and getting consulted a lot more by high up people within the IBLP. So while Jim Bob was definitely not on the leadership board, Jill makes it seem like IBLP leaders were very invested in feedback and details that Jim Bob became a featured speaker at their conferences and one of the top recruiters to the ministry. And because he was obviously bringing in so much exposure for this group, he got a lot of power. Now, with that power also meant that the girls got opportunities within the IBLP that they had never had before and they could have never afforded before. Something you learn very quickly through Jill's book is that prior to the show, this was a family that was struggling financially. Tater tot casserole wasn't just something they ate because they liked it, it was because it was cheap. And the kids lived off of tater tot casserole with cheap ground beef that she describes getting from Aldi or bean sandwiches. She said when they would go shopping on the show, that meant that they could have beef chimichangas and frozen pizzas, but otherwise food was scarce and what they ate wasn't the most nutritious. And so filming brought in new food, new opportunities, and a new way of living. And Jim Bob, through the years, was unwilling to give that up. Obviously, as Jim Bob's stock was growing within the IBLP and they become a model family, the girls become more ingrained and incorporated into the programs offered within this group. And Jill reveals that the family actually became more and more involved in this program called Journey of the Heart, which happens to be a program for mostly girls, but there is a program for boys. And this program is a 10-day retreat in the Northwoods campus, which coincidentally, the Northwood campus is currently on the market. The IBLP is offloading this campus area and moving out of Michigan. This property is one of the last properties that they own outside of their corporate headquarters in Big Sandy. And it's what she reveals about their involvement in Journey of the Heart and Jana that is shocking. As their stock is increasing, as Jim Bob's involvement is becoming like Gothard is relying on him a lot more, Gothard actually makes a visit to their home. So he comes with a bunch of people from Romania and visits the house, and Jill has the opportunity to shake his hand and meet Gothard face to face for the first time. I thought it was funny because in the book she describes him as very short, like she was shocked how short he was. Now Jill's about 5'7", so he's maybe I don't know if he's the same size as her, like height-wise, or if he's shorter, but she was very clear that he was very short, which I thought was funny because a man like Gothard would probably not want you to point out how short he is. But once they have all these people from Romania over along with Gothard for this huge dinner, they make them tater tot casserole with green beans and all of the fixings that the Duggars would always make them. And then after they leave and they have this successful meeting with Gothard in their home. So Gothard came to Arkansas to go to their house. And so this is what she wrote. The Duggar favorite lunch of tater tot casserole and sauteed green beans must have been a success because from then on, we found ourselves invited to a whole bunch of IBLP events. Sometimes my parents would be invited to speak, and occasionally we would get free lodging and entry into kids' activities that we previously hadn't been able to afford. We were starting to become a model family. Along with some of my sisters, I was invited to attend one of their camps called Journey to the Heart up in Michigan. We were invited to serve as leaders, which was a great honor that I hadn't expected at all. Even more surprising, though, was the fact that after camp, my elder sister, Jana, was personally invited by Mr. Gothard to visit IBLP headquarters in Chicago and work there for a while. We were new to the inner workings of IBLP, but we knew enough already to understand why it was only Jana who was invited. She was the only elder Duggar girl who was blonde. Everybody knew that Mr. Gothard liked blonde girls. We joke about it, calling Jana one of Gothard's girls. It didn't occur to me at all how strange, unsafe, and unwise it was. And if I had, I doubt I would have been able to speak out against it. Sweet Jilly Muffin had grown up, but I was still terrified of conflict and would do anything I could to avoid it. So there's been a lot in the news, as well as you learn about the Gothard girls in Ginger's book. You learn about Gothard girls in Shiny Happy People, Duggar Family Secrets. And the whole idea of the Gothard girls are Bill Gothard used his programs through the IBLP to take young girls that he found attractive, bring them to Chicago to work with him, and then many of these same girls that went to Chicago to work for him ended up claiming that he did things that were inappropriate to them. Some of these girls filed a lawsuit a few years ago, eventually having to have the lawsuit dismissed due to statute of limitations. And when Mr. Gothard, Bill, tried to do sanctions against them for filing a frivolous lawsuit, the judge in the case actually ruled that there was enough credible evidence that things had happened to these girls and their accounts of what they experienced by Gothard were credible. And so therefore they were not charged sanctions, and the case did have merit, the judge ruled. Now, unfortunately, there was no civil penalties. Gothard has never been charged for any of these alleged crimes. And despite the fact that this lawsuit included some very egregious acts by Bill Gothard, he's also never criminally been charged. And now, approaching 90, Gothard is no longer a member of the IBLP and was removed by the IBLP back in 2014 after all of these women came forward. Gothard has always denied any of these allegations. He claims that he would never do this to anyone, ever. It's not in his nature. And anytime he has an opportunity to remind people that he would never do that, the same people that were hurt by him will remind people that their accounts are true. So this whole idea that Jana was a Gothard girl is scary to me, because a lot of the girls that were targeted the way that Jana was, and it's very probable that Gothard could have looked at the Duggar family and seen the amount of girls that he had access to and viewed them as just this treasure trove of young, influential girls that he could potentially target. Now, Jana, I was looking through an old blog, the fan blog, Duggar Family blog. It's like the one that a fan created, but the Duggars have a relationship with these bloggers. I found an old blog from them from many years ago, and I was able to look and construct sort of a timeline because obviously in my work, I have access and speak to some of these Gothard girls. And they're women now, obviously, a lot of these, and they're very brave women. And these Gothard girls all have really heartbreaking stories. And so today I asked a couple of them if they recalled Jana ever working in Chicago, and they couldn't recall. One did say that Jana was involved pretty significantly in the Journey to the Heart program. So that's kind of what propelled me to the blog, where I found the details about how involved she was at Journey to the Heart. I really had no clue. So a lot of people had speculated that Jana was involved in Journey to the Heart because she needed to be re-educated. But now the way that it's being framed by Jill now is that Jana was actually a leader, and she was serving in a work capacity and leading these 10-day sessions with other girls and going through the heart problems of being a IBLP girl. I don't know. It's basically 10 days where they go through, they read Bibles, they fast a lot. And so people will talk about how when they were on this retreat, they end up getting very delusional because they're so damn hungry. Some people have had good experiences, but for the most part, it's a lot of heavy indoctrination, not a lot of sleep, not a lot of food to keep the kids unstable and to probably reprogram their minds. So when I was going through the blog, I noticed that from about 2009 until at least the end of 2012, Jana was regularly featured as a leader of many of these 10-day sessions. In the span of 2012, it seemed like she was in the North Woods for 6 months of these programs. And she's listed in photographs where she's with all the other girls that were there. She's in, and they would have different sessions of girls in different colors. So every session had color-coded girls. It looks very FLDS creepy, but it sounds like Jana was targeted and tapped to help out with the Journey program. And Erin Bates was also very involved in the Journey to the Heart program along with Jana. Jana and her were actually interviewed years ago, like in 2013, about their involvement in Journey of the Heart as a marketing tool for the cult. Now, the Journey to the Heart program was actually created by Bill Gothard, and he, while it doesn't take place in Chicago, he would frequently go to the North Woods, and during these retreat center times, the girls would meet with him one-on-one or discuss their journeys with him. This allowed him access to girls that he might potentially want to bring even closer to him in Chicago. Now, here's the thing. They were very busy with the show, and so if Jana did spend time in Chicago, it could have been just for a couple of weeks. But this idea of the Duggars knowing about what it meant to be a Gothard girl, it really is disturbing to me, because they knew that there was a well-known, not so hidden secret that Gothard really liked young girls, and he was grooming young girls. You know, he stayed single, but Gothard did try to get married, and he frequently tried to get married to girls that he met through the IBLP that were way younger than him. There was one girl that he was like obsessed with that was very young. I don't know if she was 18, young. Like, I don't know if she was underage, but she was so much younger than him that the board actually prevented them from getting married because it was so inappropriate. So it wasn't for a lack of trying that he didn't try to get married, but he was also using this to groom girls in whatever capacity he could. And with some girls, he would get as far as they described on Shiny Happy People, with touching, with groping, with like rubbing his feet against their legs. And with others, it went lots farther. And down to, you know, alleged SA. So it's worrisome to me that Jana was a Gothard girl, but it's also worrisome to me because during this time, it was very well known in the culture that Gothard was doing these things. and Jana was targeted by him. And it seems like the Duggars just handed Gothard Jana on a silver platter. So Jana's never talked about her time publicly about being a Gothard girl. She was not a part of the lawsuit against Gothard. She is still a stay-at-home daughter with her parents. So a lot of people, when I reported this today, people said this must be why Jana still stays at home with her parents. And this must be why she never got married. I don't think it's for a lack of trying by Jim Bob. Jim Bob did try to get her married, and she has courted different men. But she's also what's called a stay-at-home daughter. And in this cult, there's a thing where the oldest girls or one of the older girls ends up staying home with the parents until they age, and they're going to stay home with their parents and take care of them when they're older. And they don't go off and get married, and they don't have a life of their own. And so she very well could have taken that role as stay-at-home daughter. She also could have taken a vow of being single, which is another thing that Gothard had asked people to do that were in the culture as well. And so he would say, don't focus on getting married, take a vow of singleness. It could be 10 years, it could be 20 years, and just do that. Jana's so closed up and so shy and so quiet. Anyone I talk to always says that about Jana. She's just so quiet and so obedient to her parents. She wears pants now, but she still lives on her Duggar compound. She still lives with her parents, not in the big house, but in a house on outside, in a little trailer. She has been used as the long-suffering babysitter. All of her sisters exploit her kindness. Jessa specifically exploits the hell out of Jana's kindness, constantly relying on Jana for babysitting, traveling with Jana as a babysitter when she and Ben travel. And Jana really is like the Cinderella of the family. But could she have trauma from Gothard? Maybe. Is Jim Bob hoping to marry her off to Gothard? Did he think that he could give one of his daughters to Gothard as sort of a gift? I mean, this is a family that looks at Gothard as a god. It doesn't matter that he's 90 years old. It's just really sick to me that this was a well-known secret, not hidden secret, that Gothard was doing this to girls. And the Duggars sent their daughter to Gothard on a silver platter. That's why Jill says it was unsafe and unwise. It wasn't funny. She's telling us without telling us, I guess. I feel sad for Jana. I wish she could wake up. I wish she could realize that she's a 33 or 34-year-old woman. She doesn't have to stay at home. She can move. She can have her independence. She doesn't have to be under her father's authority. She can hold a job. She can do whatever she wants. Jim Bob has her under so much control. It's really sad. And if this is a layer of it, that can make it so much more understandable for where she's at. But at the same time, I don't want to limit that for why she hasn't been married, because there are plenty of girls that were Gothard girls that went on and got married. The story of Jana is always complicated and complex, but this was something I wasn't expecting, and I'm just really sad for Jana. But I'm not surprised that Jim Bob and Michelle would do this. It's just so gross. And then it just reminds me again that girls in this family are not safe at all. Girls in this cult are not safe at all. It's sad. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.